Hey, everybody!
Hey.
And what the fuck? Did you just say that at the same time?
No,
I'm hearing myself then. Okay.
that's crazy.
Yeah, schizophrenic. Hey, everybody!
Hey.
Hey! Yeah, you're fucking with me.
Yes, I am.
Uh-huh. I'm leaving this in. Fucking. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Arcade Tirade, the podcast that's all about them sweet, sweet video games. I'm your host, Zuver.
I am Phantom Outlaw.
And this is the episode for whatever the hell the day is the episode is on. If it's the day you're listening to it, that's the day of the episode. It's your own day. It's your own special episode. Or some shit.
I think Labor Day is Monday.
Yes, it is. I'm getting my labor out of the way right now.
I heard that.
Doing this shit. So what have you been playing lately?
A lot of fucking Warframe.
Not Silent Hill 2 anymore? Did we
Resident
finally
Evil 2.
Resident Evil? Damn it. I've been watching too many Silent Hill speedruns, man. There's this European dude that's really good at it. He's like the master of the series. And he's funny to boot.
Yeah, I got when I speed ran Resident Evil 2, I got 124. Thinking, yeah, I'm not trying to beat a record, but at least I was trying to beat a personal best. And then I watched this guy, I can't think of his name right now. He beat it under an hour, like 54 minutes. It's a freaking 8-hour game. I'm like, how did he do that? So speedrunners are freaking amazing. I'm always impressed how they can know how to not just speed run, but know the RNG and a lot of,
Yes, the RN
manipulate the game.
goddesses. Pray to the RN goddesses. Was he cheating? He was cheating, right?
No. Nope. No glitch, nothing.
Glitching?
He used a glitch. There was, when he played Claire, there is sort of a trick, and it's not so much a glitch. If you get bitten by an armless zombie, her damage, she gets damaged, and somehow it makes her run faster when she's damaged.
Oh,
I don't think it happens.
Boost.
But I don't think it happens.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I don't think it happens with.
This is payback for earlier.
Oh, doesn't happen with Chris. I'm sorry, Leon. There is a Chris in the Resident Evil lore, but
right.
Leon. I don't think it happens with him, but with Claire, when she gets damaged, she runs faster somehow. So that's what he was doing, but still impressive that they'd even know that could be a thing. I'm always impressed how they can just find little tricks like that out. But this wasn't a glitch, though. He ran it legitimately. I never cared for glitch runs because it's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much... Glitch runs are basically... I mean, especially at the extreme end, it just comes down to, okay, you've memorized a bunch of little inputs that offset the game, and finally through I don't know how many hours of retesting, you figured out that input, that series of inputs that takes you to the very end. Like, okay, it's cool that you found that, but it's cool to watch one time sometimes, but it's not that interesting. You've seen like the Pokemon Red and Blue speedruns where they do that shit, right?
No, I've seen the Zelda ones or the Mario. I think there's a Mario Kart glitch run, I think. But
the Pokemon run is literally just switching around a bunch of different items to certain positions in the menu and over-glitching the whole system to the point where it takes you to the end of the Elite Four.
Oh, okay.
And it's really just like 20 minutes of watching a guy like doing all these inputs. And like at the Games Done Quick gatherings, the speedrunner summits they do.
Yeah.
They always have a guy explaining it because nobody would watch this speedrun. I mean, probably a few like the super geeks, but if they didn't have some guy explaining why he's doing the shit he's doing, otherwise you'd just be watching a guy like going Tourette's with his menu system.
Right. I know, oh my God, which game was that? Oh, shoot. Oh yeah, Resident Evil 4 has a thing where you do something with the weapons. I can't think of it now. I used to watch this guy named Pharaoh something on Twitch. I don't know if he's on now or not, but he does it. I learned not. I have speed run Resident Evil 4 before, not as good as a lot of these guys do, but I'm more than one to see how to play the game differently. Because there's a way to make when you first go into the town in Resident Evil 4, there's a way to avoid fighting all the enemies to get out of that town quicker. It's like hop over the fence, go into the house, shoot I think got the girl throw like 2 grenades, something like that, and then you avoid fighting the chainsaw guy. But anyway, it's pretty impressive that they can find some of these little things. There's a lot of testing, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's in a lot of ways like, what's a good comparison? You know, when you see something that's cool and they make a picture, you know, it goes viral on the internet. Somebody like spent all this time building this little doohickey that looks out, you know, out of a bunch of these little mini things. And like, you know, it's cool that you put all that time into it and it's clever, the concept, but it's like, you know, you pull the trick once. It's like that old Bugs Bunny cartoon where Daffy Duck dies in the end, where he's competing with Bugs, and he's floating up to heaven, and he's like, it was a great trick, Daffy, and he says, yeah, but I can only do it once.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's just like a one trick. It's a one-off trick. It's cool and all, but a lot of times it doesn't really last. But I guess that's not the point.
Right.
So, yeah. So I've been playing a little of this, a little of that. I've been getting into the old folks and millennial market because I've been playing a lot of phone games lately at the office. I've been into virtual pool. No, I mean they're not like, you know, well, most of them they're not like push the button and the thingy happens because this is cool. No, like, you know, top-down virtual pool, stuff like that. It's a baseball game that's pretty fun. There's some
Do you ever get
games on there for free.
2DS or 3DS at all?
No, but I have emulated a Super Nintendo and a Game Boy on my phone before.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't messed with the handhelds with Nintendo in a long time, as you know. But I did go back and play some Chrono Trigger the last couple of days. Little known fact, I actually never beat it.
No way. I thought you did.
No, man. I got so far a couple times, and then I either lost my copy of it, or I didn't lose interest in the game, but something else came up. Maybe a different game came out. I think the farthest I get was I got the ship, and you pretty much get to the point where you're free to do everything. You know, you've been back to 12,000 or 1,200, where, you know, the floating island, and you got the ship and all that. I think I got option paralysis, too many choices. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So then something else caught my attention.
Oh, okay.
But right now I'm about to fight the dinosaur queen, king, whichever one. Right after you beat Magus.
Yes.
Yeah. It's always one of my favorite parts. Forgot how fucking hard that fight is against Magus.
Well, I can't say anything. I haven't beaten the original Secret of Mana.
I'm supposed to say, what?
Finish that game. Oh my god, I had the game since the original copy since the game came out in early 90s, mid 90s.
93.
And I had I got the book, the strategy guide and everything, and what else? Something else came out that year. With RPGs, I don't like to beat them quick. I like to experience everything possible, get them as high level as I can. I just never got around to finishing that game. I got pretty far Never finished it.
Oh, that reminds me. I played Pocky and Rocky finally.
Oh, how you like it?
That's fun. It's a nice top-down shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
I suppose what you call it. Yeah, it's cute. You know. I can't say too much about it because it's a simple game as far as I haven't gotten too far into it, but it's just a simple fun game. I get why you liked it.
Yes. I even got my parents when I had it. Oh, I still have it, but at the time I played it, I would play it for some reason, like every Sunday. I think I don't know why it became kind of a tradition. I would play it every Sunday or every 2 Sundays. And got my parents to play through with me once, a couple of times, and even my mother liked it. So she likes nothing but Pac-Man and Centipede. So she actually liked that game.
It's kind of funny how 70s and a lot of 80s games were based around repeating the same things and getting high scores. And we've come back to that now with mobile games.
Yeah, I always thought I remember someone asked when Xbox Live was doing the well, they still do it, the achievements. And it always reminded me when I used to go to the arcade and you try to get the highest score possible. And, I kind of think about that when I try to get, plus the replay value of, I don't like to get rid of my games too often. So it's always good to have a game that has something to give you a reason to play it again. So I like to, me, I'm a completionist. So like to, if I pay for it, I'm going to play it and get every ounce of whatever it has to offer out of it. So I always thought the achievement thing was cool. I always liked it better than the PlayStation's trophy thing.
Milk the shit
I don't care
out of
much.
it. Whenever I'm playing a game like that and I unlock some achievement, it's only then that I remember, oh yeah, they have achievements. So, anything else as far as games?
I've been
Playing games?
Oh, I did buy, let me find my Switch game. I just got this new Switch game. Had to import it from Japan because, Nintendo has the uncensored version of the game and Sony has the censored version of the game because Sony's a piece of shit. Because they're now,
for Sony.
they now are, we're afraid of tits. But you're not afraid to show 2 teenage girls kissing, but adult anime chicks, that's a problem. So it's called Omega Labyrinth Life. And it has a lot to do, one of the mechanics is, and I haven't played much, and all the way, only played the beginning part of it, but there's a mechanic in there. For some reason, your boobs gets bigger.
Isn't that what always happens in anything Japanese?
Yeah, but
I'm always like, whenever I'm watching anything Japanese, my first thought is just, okay, when's somebody's tits gonna start growing?
Yeah. So the mechanic in this game for the tits to grow bigger, and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's a nice RPG.
Hey, by the way, while we're on strange ways that people treat sexual stuff, is it true that the tentacle porn started because they couldn't put penises in the comics? I think we talked about that. We did talk about that before.
I think so.
So is that just a trend? Do they still not allow dicks?
I don't know. I just know in Japanese, like real life Japanese, they censor the genitals for some reason. I think they also have uncensored ones, but for some reason they censor genitals. I'm assuming that's why the hentai has the tentacle stuff, but then some of the manga that's adult oriented, they'll have a strip like a Hitler mustache across the top of the tip of the dick and on the cheek. But
it's like the nipple.
No, the nipples will show. It's just on the vagina and the dick they'll have that Hitler mustache going across the or the Groucho Marx, whoever you choose. It goes, but you can still see the full penis. It's just
it goes over the head.
The head,
right? The opening at the head, or
like at the head,
yeah.
But like
strange fact, I actually know it's called the meatus.
Meatus, okay. And I don't see the point.
It's just like the nipples here in America is what I'm saying, dude. Like the pasties.
Oh yeah.
You see the whole tit except for the nipple. The nipple's taboo.
That makes no sense to me.
That's why I always like those like fetish outfits where the woman covers the whole body except for the nipples.
Yeah,
it's like the reverse. It's like she's
put
practically naked. Oh my god!
You're putting more. You actually giving more attention to the nipple part because I mean, you cover nipples like well. Now you're focused on that because you got shit hanging off of them, a tassel or whatever. I don't understand. Ass backwards mentality. It's like I remember, playing a video game where you got all the decapitations, but you couldn't cuss. You can't. Or Star Wars, you can decapitate people. They never use bad words. I'm like
right.
So bad words are more hurtful than seeing someone get decapitated? I'm confused.
I don't know, man. Different standards.
Yeah, that's so weird. But then some of the shit they do allow, it's very odd to me too.
Multiple standards.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to news. So, Pro Jared. And I'm, for the record, not into a lot of this drama stuff, but he's a pretty big figure in the gaming community and YouTube, so I think it's worth mentioning. A few days ago, he put out a video refuting everything that was alleged against him.
Yes.
And it's a pretty long video. It's like 45, 50 minutes, but he has to explain everything very carefully. And it's pretty convincing.
Mm-hmm.
He was accused by two individuals who he calls out in the video, and he says it's strange that certain tweets that they put out that were apparently very crucial in accusing him have since been deleted.
Yeah.
Without explanation. And one of the individuals that made accusations against him also had a blog where they were talking about how they went through some head injuries and some not dementia, I don't want to mislabel it, but he was going through some psychological issues during that exact same time, which can often result in people remembering things that didn't happen or recalling things incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the whole cheating on his wife thing, I'm not even going to touch that. I thought they were in an open relationship or something. He said that he wanted a divorce, but she didn't.
Mm-hmm. So
they just agreed that he was just going to screw around. She was just going to, they were going to do their thing with somebody else. My take at the end, whether or not he did those things, which it seems with the evidence is, I think he's got some good evidence. He made two big points. He said, I'm really frustrated with a lot of you guys in the gaming community because you didn't come to me first to ask about the accusations. You just threw me under the bus pretty much and distanced yourself from me. And the second thing he said, the second point, my take is maybe if you're going to be a big YouTube personality, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but maybe you don't want to have a page where you get sexually involved with your fans, even, if it's consenting, because that can, again, not telling you what to do, But I mean, I think you and I can see how that can lead to trouble real quick, as it did.
Especially with all the Me Too bullshit and the Believe Women bullshit. The same thing happened with the guy from the host of the Talking Dead.
Fucking Hardwick, man. I miss that guy.
He had the same shit happen with him, and it proved to be false too. It's like, it's a witch hunt. I think all these movements that have start off as a good thing end up sabotaging themselves because they go too far with it and it becomes a joke. People start to like question, like, now you're coming, like with Me Too, it's like,
yeah, it's any movement. You get bad actors involved, you get radicals involved, and they go under your banner, and then everybody associates your group with what the most extreme people did.
Yeah.
I remember the Tea Party movement had this happen, where they started as just an economically conservative movement, but then you started to see guys in their ranks that are like, we're going to deport Obama, where's his birth certificate, da 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 da, and some even more extreme things. And of course, Gamergate. Any movement, really. You can go all the way back. That's just how people are.
Yes, Black Lives Matter had the same thing. It's like, well, I personally was like, well, with black on black violence, it's like, why does Black Lives Matter only if a white person kills us? And we had, issues with ourselves, in a hood with drama that goes on there. And, when they did that movement because of the cop shootings and stuff, then they started becoming a tad bit annoying, especially with the one video I saw with them, Monopolist. What is his name? Crap. Can't think of his name right now. He's the gay conservative guy.
Milo?
Got kicked. Milo. Yeah, God, Milo. I saw when he was trying to give a speech about something and they just rushed the stage, blowing their whistle. It's just like, come on, man. What are y'all doing? And you just start to irritate people and you just start to stop taking them seriously when they start doing stuff like that. Like, go after the actual things you need to go after and I don't know. I just find people do these movements with good intentions and they go too far with it.
Well, somebody I was listening to earlier today made a good point about political movements. He said, do you know, now, people have different opinions on whether or not these people are Nazis, if that's the accurate term, or if they're part of this label, if they're alt-right or this. He said, do you know why Nazis have been more resurgent in the public in the recent years? It's because they lost the uniforms. Any movement that has a bunch of radical imagery, and let's say like the Antifa, they all wear their black and red. They're not very appealing looking. Their idea is if you represent your group looking like that, it's not going to work. So that's why these groups like, Antifa and the Proud Boys are so unpopular. And you have guys like Richard Spencer, the white nationalist movement. And I think that's what he was talking about, in Nazi in that sense. They've gained some numbers. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't think there's any way to really say because, one guy shows up and then, But basically, if you want to have, the argument is, if you want to have some kind of a cause, some kind of a movement or party or organization or whatever, try to look, I guess, relatable would be the best way.
But even then, when people see through once your attitude shines through, or the way, your behavior, when that wouldn't matter at that point, even if they didn't have, if they look presentable, when their attitude at some point show, and it's like a uniformed up outfit wouldn't matter at that point. You're still an idiot.
Right, but I think that at least there's more of a chance for dialogue to happen if you're not in, an outfit like a neo-Nazi or an.
But then the dialogue would have to come from the people who, like Antifa, they're not trying to have a dialogue.
No, they're
trying
not.
to.
No, they're not.
So
I'm not claiming these groups are.
No, I know. I'm just saying for that argument from anybody, not just. I'm saying point at you. I'm just saying if that was the case, Alfred or not, like I said, their attitude or their what word did I just use recently? However they approach the situation or approach their movement, they're not doing it with dialogue. It's and those, I think dressing one way or the other would matter because I don't think they can help themselves, and they will eventually be radical regardless.
Right. Well, yeah, of course, any movement that basically resorts to attacking, violence, loitering, their ideas are going to be down the shit tube real quick. So I'm not saying that a group like Antifa has a chance of getting, major popularity. But I'm saying like some people I'm sure are part of that group and actually do want to have a dialogue. Or, the movements, like for instance, some of the Richard Spencer gatherings and, some of the lefty gatherings, they do actually try to talk and be nonviolent. But it's weird. I guess you could say because mostly the violent ones are the ones that dress up. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And then you have someone like Chris Evans. I don't know if he's doing it still or not, but he was trying to create a website to talk. Now he's definitely a liberal, but he wanted to make a site to talk on both sides of the issue, and people on his side got pissed at him for doing that. It's like, so these people are not at all interested in dialogue and at all. It's just their way or no way. Even the people that's in their group is saying, that do say we need to talk. It's like they'll eat their own before they even allow conversation from both, another side. This is weird, man. I honestly never seen anything like this before. I've seen a lot of stuff growing up during Reagan and a little bit of Carter and Clinton, but my goodness, it's all over the place. Political, socially, it's just everywhere. And it's like more divided than I can remember.
Probably since the 60s and the 70s.
Yeah, well, I was a kid in the 70s, a baby, so I would not have. My earliest memory of any craziness was when we had the skinheads and the neo-Nazis. Back then, they were out and about. Like they were visible, and they made it known they were visible. But I don't know today what even the fight is about. To be honest with you, it's like whatever they're trying to fight, it kind of already did that fight. It's not that it's perfect, but I just don't know what I'm not sure what the goal is. It just seemed like a bunch of propaganda and people freaking out over a boogeyman to me.
Yeah, again, I think it's people are getting, everyone's getting the ability to try and say their thing. And there aren't two sides. You could argue two sides when you look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But that doesn't even work because you could have like a guy that's like, all right, we need to deport everybody that's not white, but I also like socialism. So it's a really weird mixture. But it seems to me like the big overall picture is you have fascists and white supremacists or white nationalists on one side, and then you have socialists, communist apologists, and just other degrees of liberal on the other side. But the loudest voices are the ones that are always being talked about.
Yeah.
And so, I think you'd agree. From at this point, you and I are more near the center when you really look at everything.
Yeah.
I mean, as they said, somebody called it the woke centrists a while ago. Whatever you want to call it, we still have our disagreements on things, but we definitely agree that, both radical. I'm saying obvious shit. Both radical, violent, bad.
Right.
That's all I'm getting at. But we're getting way off the topic, man. Pro Jared, I didn't have anything else to say about that. I do have something to say about the leaked shots of the PlayStation 5. I don't know if you've heard or seen those, have you?
No, like I said, I've been off YouTube for like 2 weeks, so I haven't looked at anything. I don't know if it's me. I'm hearing background noise like an ocean. I don't know if it's a fan or not. I don't know if it's on my end or your end.
Did that help?
Oh, yeah, that helped a lot.
Okay, yeah, I was a fan.
Oh, okay.
Shouldn't have had that so close. Anyway, yeah, they leaked an image of the PlayStation 5. It was the design, and then somebody made a digital replica of it. A pretty realistic image. It looks... If you want to pull up, just search PlayStation 5 design, if you can.
Okay.
It's got vents for fucking days. It looks like something you would see on a sci-fi show like 30 years in the future. It's got all virtual buttons on the front.
It looks like the crazy PlayStation 5 design was just leaked. BGR. That's just taking forever to pull up.
Look it up on Kotaku. They'll probably say PlayStation 5 design racist or something.
Yeah. Oh God, I refuse to. I do not want to give them. I'll find somebody. I refuse to give them clicks.
I'm on Digital Trends.
Okay. Fuck Kotaku. Digital Trends. Oi. As I'm trying to look for this thing, there was speaking to what we were just talking about, but this is game related. And I wish I could remember the damn site. I'll find it before we get off. But they were basically saying that if you play Call of Duty, no, not Call of Duty. What game has the? It's not Doom. It's not. I'm trying to think whatever game it is that lets you pick the good guys or the Nazis. And apparently they were saying if you play as the Nazis, there's a chance you will sympathize with them or some bullshit. It's a weird, I had seen a video, at some point. It's hilarious that somebody, we're still, trying to blame violent and school shootings and all these shootings on video games. And now people are like, you're going to turn into a Nazi if you play one in a video game too. We can't be this dumb. PlayStation. I am not finding this thing.
They have to either be very naive. Here, let me just send you a link.
Okay.
Oh, it pops up in the thumbnail.
Oh, okay. God, I hope I was able to catch it. Oh. It disappeared. Skype. Okay, there it is. Okay. I'm gonna open. Is that it? That's gotta be like,
Nothing's confirmed.
no, I mean, even, you ever see like, I remember when the Wii U came out. Was it a Wii? No, I'm sorry, the Wii. The first Wii. And people weren't sure what it looked like. And you go on, like, images, like on Google, it's like a shit ton of concept art. Even if, and a lot of it wasn't official, just somebody that was able, like somebody took like a flip phone and made a PlayStation. Like I'm looking at some of them now. Kind of, that is a weird design. Even if real or not, that would be really weird looking. Looks like a horseshoe or a V upside down, or the letter A without the middle, like the very top of it. That is, I am not hyped for any of these new systems because I think I'm going to go PC soon. It depends on the games though, but.
Well, I haven't even seen a picture for the Xbox Scarlet.
I don't think they're going to drop at about the same time. Project Scarlet, blah, 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 blah. 2020.
So what are we coming up on now? The 9th generation?
I have lost count. How do they go by generation? Do they go by, yeah, how do they do that? Do they go like, so PlayStation 1 was, I guess, first generation, correct?
Oh no, this goes way back to the 70s.
Oh, that's how they go 9th generation.
PlayStation was already like Generation 5.
Oh, you talking about in terms of
Console
I thought you meant
Oh no, not
individual.
just right.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, video game consoles.
Period. Oh, okay. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I think so. Atari. Now, do they count like kind of like the subsystems? Like if it's made by the same company, like Sega had a shit ton of, they had the Genesis and they had like the 32X, and then they had.
Right. Then they had the Saturn. After that.
Yeah. How do they?
I think they
count that.
There's usually a solid enough line where you can say that consoles with this, this amount of processing power, these types of graphics, were done, and they start with whichever was the first major system to do the next thing.
Oh, okay.
So they were focused mostly on like Atari or Coleco back in the 70s, 80s, and then Nintendo and Sega set the standards after that, and then Sony and Xbox. But yeah, I think NES was already at like 3rd or 4th generation by the time that came along.
Okay.
And then the first generation would be Odyssey and Atari 2800.
So what does that put Sega Genesis and Mega Drive?
I believe Genesis and Mega Drive, I believe, would be in the same generation as Nintendo, and the Genesis would be in the Super Nintendo. I think Genesis would be the first console for that era.
Okay. I gotcha.
But that's what I've got for news.
Okay. I don't think I have any news because I haven't kept up with a lot of stuff other than, what was the last thing I heard? Oh, WoW, World of Warcraft Classic came out this week. That's getting like a shit ton of views on Twitch. A Switch game called, oh shit. I think they came out this week too. Astral Train. God, I'm thinking about the Transform. Astral Train. Astral Chain came out on the Switch, I think today or this week. One of the games I wanted to actually buy. On that, I don't really have much in terms of news.
All right. So, today's main topic is kind of a open-ended one. Talking about criticisms, problems we have with anything game-related. My take was going to be mostly major development companies. I know you had your takes on who you were going to go after or talk about. I have mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll probably crisscross along the way. So, you want to pick your first battle, or should I?
You go first. Trying to see how you how your setup is.
I don't really have a setup. I'm just going to do mostly free-form conversation like we've been doing now. Okay, I guess I'll get the first topic. Nintendo's greatest mistake as a video game publisher, console developer. I can think of a number of things that I would go after Nintendo for, but I would have to say, and I'd also like to say, this isn't against Nintendo now. They're doing pretty damn well with the Switch, better than they have since the Wii. But I would say, in recent history, their biggest problem to me would be their shitty marketing with the Wii U. But overall, in the larger scale, since the end of the 90s, I think that their consoles have been so foreign to what the competition was doing that they didn't have third-party support. And I think it was a combination of having inaccessible consoles and also being very hawkish and controlling of them back when they were the top dog in the 90s. And I think that that left them burnt for quite a long time. And it's something that they've only recently been recovering from. I mean, I could go on another one. Possibly the greatest one, actually, now that I think about it, in the long term, as far as what happened, residual effect, would be when they backed out of working with Sony on a console back in the 90s. But we don't know what things would have been like, because that's so far back. You know, that's like saying if a war 100 years ago hadn't happened, or if one side had won, the other side had won. I don't know, man. I could talk about how they're really puritanical pricks back in the 90s, and now they're actually embracing the blood now. I could go after Xbox for ripping off the Wii's motion controls. Or no, no, they both did that, didn't they?
Yeah, because
Xbox was the one with the big, like, the orbs on the end of those sticks, right?
No, that was Sony.
Oh, shit.
You're talking about the Move, PlayStation Move.
That's it, PlayStation
Move. Xbox was free-handed, the Kinect. It was a camera, so they didn't use a controller.
Okay. I remember the Kinect people got pissed off because they were being recorded, right? Or no, Sony wasn't, or damn it, Microsoft wasn't giving them an option to opt out without having that thing connected to their system. But then they backpedaled on it after people started complaining.
Well, that was the original Kinect was on Xbox 360. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if there was any controversy with that or not. In terms of that, I know when the Xbox One came out, though, yeah, it was issues with it didn't see certain people depending on like your skin color, because it was the darker you were, the more it somehow couldn't see you. Some weird glitch it had. The whole always on was an issue. People was wondering if they'd being recorded. Yeah, it was a whole lot of stuff, and then the Kinect was. Nobody used it after a while. It kind of like I remember peripherals in history just did not fucking succeed at all. Sega CD. I don't know how to move the 32X. The move.
Are you talking just recent or just over all video game history? Peripherals.
Peripheral history.
What about the light? What about the light gun in the NES?
Did that make it? I mean.
Duck Hunt sold pretty well when they bundled it with Nintendo or with Mario, and what was that Western shootout game they had on there? That was a relatively popular game, wasn't it?
I think so. But then you had the issue with Rob.
Oh, well, Rob, yeah, Rob was.
Was it the Zapper on the Super Nintendo? The looks like a
the Zapper.
Yeah, I know one person that had that, and I don't remember too many hot games that came out with that. Like I said, Sega CD, I don't think lasted too long. It had Snatcher, and I think Sonic CD was the two games I mostly hear people talk about.
Mm-hmm. Snatcher because it was such a limited run.
I guess the Kinect kind of was successful on the 360 in that it came out kind of late. I don't think it was a failure at all. I think it had some moderate success. That's why they brought it over to the Xbox One, but it was 100. I think when they revealed the Xbox, man, it had such a, and then the whole what do you call that? DRM issue. You couldn't share games. They had this whole thing, and they had to do like a day one patch when people were like, "We're going to go to PlayStation," because it flip flop. 360 was kind of the it girl, and then when the Xbox One came out and it had all this DRM, you couldn't really share games with. You had limited sharing ability with. They had all kind of crazy stuff. And from what I understand, the developers wanted that because I know GameStop was freaking out over the idea of you couldn't trade in games or something. That was that whole thing. That was like so much I'm trying to remember back when they launched that thing. And then the PlayStation was kind of like, rumors were they were going to do the same thing, but when Xbox got shit on for it, they kind of like backtracked and didn't do it. So they looked like they were for the fans. So people just jumped on PlayStation 4, and that's why Xbox is behind because of that. I think part of it was a lot of it had to do with that reveal and some of the stuff they were going to put into the system that they ended up getting rid of, but they already kind of tainted some things with that, so people just kind of went to PlayStation 4.
Hey, that reminds me. Which system was it? I think it was Sony. Was it the PlayStation 2 or 3 where one of the main executives in the company at the press conference, it's like this famous moment now, he walks up and you think he's going to give a speech about the console and he just says $299 and everybody goes crazy because everybody thought it was going to be $400 the price. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
It might have been Xbox. Yeah, it was pretty cool actually because, I mean, that sold it. That's all he had to say, and nobody was expecting it because Sony always was the more, Sony and Xbox both usually more pricey compared to Nintendo.
I don't know if they did that with the PS4 because the PS3, that bastard was like $600. And they were so arrogant at the time. They were like, gaming doesn't start until we come, some shit like that. They were $600. Somehow, because Xbox at the time was kicking their asses. And then they lowered the system price. They had pretty good first party stuff, and they end up pretty much catching over to Xbox very quickly. They kind of reinvented themselves of that generation, or that. I wonder if PlayStation 2 did that with the one what you're talking about, but I don't remember. God, I remember standing in line for that fucking console. This when they had like only a few stores had anywhere from 12 to 24 PlayStation 2s. And I remember going to a Target. No, I was going to the Walmart, and I thought I was there first, or at least a decent number, because there was no one in the game area. Then I went to the back of the store. It's like at least 100 or so people back there. I'm like, I'm not getting a console today. And I drove to Target, or I drove past Target and saw one guy camping on a bench that they had out there at Target. I was like, fuck. Oh, looks like I'm camping. So it was pretty fun. That was the first time I ever did anything like that. Hanging around a group of gamers, waiting for a system. And I think that Target only had like 24 of them. And you had whatever line you were in, what position you were in line, that's what you were getting.
I just sent you a link, and I'm sure you remember this, and they've got a pretty funny image in there.
Yeah, because I experienced this bullshit.
Talking about problems. So what happened there with this red ring of death? What happened with the Xbox 360 and the red ring of death?
They just had a huge failure rate. They were... I think Xbox, I remember the original Xbox, I think I had at least 4 of those things. I don't know if they were just shitty designs. I don't know what it was, but I know the original Xbox, at least from my experiences, just did not last long. And then the whole red ring thing, well, I remember that, I don't know what is going on in your background. It is.
Sorry, I tried to move it far away, and apparently I just can't have it on at all, so. Okay.
What was I saying? It was overheating, and somehow the I forgot what you call the thing at the heat dish. I think some component in there kept bending because the system would get so hot, if I remember correctly. And those, I think, one of the issues that was causing it to just crap out. I remember watching Afro Samurai, and right after I watched that, and I had this system for quite a while. It died while I was watching this DVD. Right after I stopped watching, it was weird. And then they eventually fixed it. But man, it took. And I remember they had they lost so much money because they had to replace so many systems because of that issue. But they had the best online. They had at the time, best games. A lot of support on it.
You said they recalled those systems, right?
Yeah. Well, if yours died, they had to replace them. Free of charge. So I remember having to replace mine. They couldn't repair it. They had to give me a free one. it was a problem. They eventually got it right, but it was like towards the middle to towards the end of its life cycle.
Ugh.
They eventually got it to where, because I still, knock on wood, I still have mine from, now this is when they redesigned it. So, yeah, it was over. And then GameStop, I think, were refurbishing them and were selling them for brand. That's why I don't like GameStop. They were, if I remember correctly,
I don't think anybody likes GameStop at this point.
I think they were taking Xbox 360s, fixing them or refurbishing them, and then were selling them as brand new. I don't know if that was a rumor or not. I never experienced that, but I could swear I heard somebody tell me that was a thing that they were doing.
Well, I remember Review Tech USA's had a few stories talking about accounts from people that worked there. They even had one where Rich interviewed a former employee that worked at one of the biggest shops. And he talked about all the stories about how the manager would have him manipulate the numbers and lie to people about their returns. And it was a lot of shit that he got into.
Yeah.
But they're a sinking ship at this point. I think they just laid off another 50 regional managers.
Yeah, they heard about that, yeah.
But you reminded me of something when you were talking about the recalls of all the 360s for that Red Ring of Death shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what D-pad or joystick drifting is, right?
No.
Where the input sensors on the joysticks get a little wonky, and you might see the character on screen start slowly walking in one direction, and you're not even doing anything.
Oh, that, yeah.
I think. Have you had experience with that? Have you experienced that with Sony and Microsoft consoles?
No, I do remember. But let me think back. I remember on the Nintendo 64. I remember they had a warning, if you turned the system on while you had the analog stick in position, it would, I guess, be stuck. Not physically stuck, but your character would stay in that position. You couldn't plug it. Something weird like that. You couldn't touch the analog stick while you were plugging in the controller, or move it forward or back, or something would screw up on the system.
Dude, those N64 joysticks all ended up like wrecked pussy after a couple of years of using.
Yeah, it did.
All those, especially Mario Party, rotate. I remember Nintendo. I thought they talked about issuing hand pads because people were getting blisters so much.
Yeah. I would say just if I had any experience, it was just having my joystick for the controller for so long that it eventually just wore out. But it took a lot of time for that to happen, a lot of button presses and stuff for that. I had probably had more buttons sticking, than having issues with the D-pad or the analog stick. Probably had a lot of button issues, maybe.
Well, then it seems that, because I was asking you, because you've played with the other Sony and Microsoft consoles, I didn't know. I know Nintendo's had a history of that. The Joy-Cons have been a real problem for them lately. And I don't know if you've heard.
Again?
They actually issued, they've opened up to accept recalls. They give you measures to go through to try and fix it yourself, and then they say, go ahead and ship it to us, and we'll fix it for you free of charge. But people have been complaining about it for months now, probably longer. I remember having issues with that early last year. I'd be on the menu screen, and all of a sudden, the selection would just start scrolling all the way down to the bottom, and I'm not even doing anything. And I don't even play my Switch that much. So yeah, Nintendo's had a long history with joystick drifting.
No, let's see, the GameCube pad. I still have my Wavebird, and that works fine. I think the 360. I'm sorry, the Nintendo 64 was. I think I remember having issues with that at some point. Sony and Microsoft. My kid who plays my Xbox, somehow she plays it so much that the buttons are wrecked, but somehow it still works. I mean, that thing is destroyed. She presses those buttons like, kids, they have no, yeah, they just work shit out because they're kids. Somehow though, that thing still functions. I don't know how, but they did a pretty good job with, it's a pretty well built controller. From the fact that it still works it's totally wrecked. Like I gotta buy a new one, but it's fucked, but somehow it still works. You can still actually press, cause how you press into a button, it just feels, there's no pushback. Mm-hmm. This thing is just so worn out. I don't know how it still functions, but it does.
I know what you mean, man. It's empty. It's like it sinks into the controller.
Yeah.
It's like, but I don't even want to be a button anymore. Go ahead and do whatever you want.
Somehow it still works. So it's pretty well built controller.
Well, there was a good indicator back in the day to see how long a controller would last. If you just go to one of those public ones they had set up at like the end of every gaming section in the stores.
Oh yeah.
You can see what happened. Every PlayStation, every Super Nintendo, I remember as a kid, the buttons were all mashed in. And every 64 controller, every PlayStation controller, everything was just wrecked. The joystick was just like dripping off to the bottom like a wilted cock. Apparently I have some sexual obsession with the N64 joystick.
And my Nintendo 360, I'm sorry, Nintendo 360. My Nintendo 3DS.
Parallel timeline.
I know. My 3DS analog stick eventually wore out. And that sucks because that thing is attached. You can't attach any other controller to the 3DS. So the analog stick on there eventually wore out. So that's why I ended up having to get another 3DS. Once that thing is gone, it can't. It broke inside of it cracked some kind of way. So, but if you drop it, whatever that shell casing is made out of, it seems to still could take a lot of abuse and still work pretty good. But the buttons, or at least that one 3DS, my original 3DS, analog stick is shit. I can't do anything with it.
Get wrecked.
Yep.
Do you think they've gotten better though?
I haven't played my other two. I got a 2DS and a 3DS. New 3DS rather. I'm assuming they fix that where it lasts a little bit longer, but I don't play it as much. So I've only had the one issue with that my original one, because I played that so much. So
I'd like to bring up something that I think some people would see as a flaw, as a bad move, but I think actually worked out better in the long run. The Game Boy didn't have a backlight for over a decade. And that was a big complaint that a lot of people had. The Game Gear did. But which console do you remember more? Which console was more successful? Which console lasted? I think because Nintendo, I believe the Game Boy was cheaper than the Game Gear, if I'm not mistaken. And the Game Boy also took 2 less batteries and had a longer battery life. And yeah, the argument is, but I don't have a backlit screen. Okay, so spend $10 and buy one of those little doohickey lights that hangs over the screen. It's kind of goofy, but I think it worked out for Nintendo more in the long run.
I think of the games was I remember there was a stretch of a period of time where the lesser powered consoles were successful, because the PlayStation 2, the GameCube was actually more powerful than the PS2, but saw who won that battle. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Game Boy. That was a less powerful system, but they had the games. It had the name brand. It had the brand recognition. It had. You know what I noticed too? I just had a family reunion not too long ago. I noticed with my little nephews and little cousins, it has nothing to do with how powerful the system is. It's how popular the system is that they will gravitate to. None of them gives a shit about the Switch. But the PlayStation 4 is the cool system. So in their little circle of whoever they hang out with, you're pretty much a bitch boy if you have anything else other than a PlayStation 4. You're not considered the cool kid if you don't have a PlayStation 4. If you have any other system, you're the outcast. I think a lot of socially these games have consoles now. I think it's turned into I think like with the Game Boy, I think it was the cool system at the time. If you had anything outside of that, well, it was really much competition they had as far as handhelds, but it really wasn't. If you had a Game Gear or whatever, nobody really had that, and it wasn't really the cool system to have. I think that was a cool factor with kids that gravitate towards one system or another. I don't know anybody outside of you and another person that has a Switch. And none of the kids that nephews and nieces, they not give a shit about a Switch. Plus, I think at the age that they are, they want to feel a little bit grown up. So I think a PlayStation 4, it kind of makes them feel a little bit like they have a kind of a grown up system, not a toy, if you will.
Yeah. Well, Nintendo's definitely viewed much more as a doohickey console because that's what they do. So you're saying that it's not so much about the consoles anymore, it's about which games are popular?
Well, I think which system is popular.
Mm-hmm. And it's popular just because everybody else is doing it now?
Well, it's kind of like even during the 360 and the PS3, the whole people were attaching themselves to the system that they bought as if they owned the company or took stake in it. Like people defending the system as if their life depended on it. It was like, it's just a game system. I don't understand this whole people taking, like to see people argue online in forums and stuff over which system is better. It's like my brain can't comprehend that argument because it's a piece of plastic to me, but they attach themselves to this thing. And I know my little nephews and cousins were doing that with the PlayStation 4. They had a whole conversation about which was better, the Xbox One or the 360, the Xbox One or PS4. I'm like, God, that age group is still in that mindset of.
I was going to say, we were doing that back in the day, or at least people in our groups were doing that, right? I know they were with me. With the people I knew. We had people on Team Nintendo and people on Team Sega.
No, I remember people that had a Sega, we just played with it. We didn't make a big deal out of it. I remember we kind of made. I think I remember liking Nintendo a lot more than Sega before I got a Sega Genesis, but I don't remember there being personal attacks on someone because you owned a Sega Genesis over a Nintendo or anything. We didn't think of anything like that.
Well, are these personal attacks that you're seeing now happening on the internet?
Well, I know it was a lot more prevalent with the Nintendo, the Xbox 360 and the PS3. You would go on forums and people would first start talking about, well, this system is better than this one. And then it turned into personal attacks after a while. And it's like, you guys are arguing over, people you don't know, you're arguing over systems you have you paying money to a company? You're just a number to these companies. That whole loyalty brand bullshit. I never understood that. Now again, when I was a little teenager and I was Team Nintendo, I was like, I'm not fucking up with a Sega, but I never thought to attack someone who had a Genesis.
Right. But what
personally attack them for that.
Right, but what I'm saying is that now that people can hide behind anonymous things on the internet and say whatever they want, I think that might be why people are so much more vocally, hostile about it. And
I'm just saying, even with my little nephews and my little cousin, I saw them do the same thing. They didn't go too much into personal attacks, but they almost got into an argument about which system was better. And they felt like you were just not cool if you didn't have a PS4. If you were an Xbox One, I had to get in this comment like, dude, they're basically the same damn system. They both got pros and cons. I think that PS4 controller is a piece of shit. I hate that controller. But I think they got the best first-party games over Xbox One. I think Xbox One has a better online. The PS4 is Sony has finally caught up with them in terms of that, so you can kind of go one or the other with that. But there's some things I like on the PS4 better than I like on Xbox, and something on Xbox I like better than PS4. But when y'all get down to it, PC Master Race, all that shit don't even matter.
I was about to say, did you bring up the PC to him?
I wanted the conversation.
You're all wasting your time. This is the real thing. This is the truth right here.
I don't think they even. Their kids. They didn't even think their brain was so focused on Xbox versus PlayStation, and it was kind of had to go into the argument y'all having is so for their kids. So when me having a conversation, when they go back to school or around their friends, it's all PS4 stuff. It's not. They probably forgot everything I had said, but we were playing Mortal Kombat 11, and they used the word try hard. None of them knew what it meant. They just said it. So apparently to them, try harding is when you try to win. And they're just throwing words out there because in their heads, yeah. It's like I play. They don't understand that I'm trying to win the game. I'm not going to let you beat me. That's not try harding. You guys don't even know what it means. Immediately they stopped using it because they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. And I had one little kid who was like, I can beat everybody in this room. And I whooped his ass. Now I remember leaving, unplugging my system. There's no competition here. And they played the game before. It's not like I just played against somebody they didn't know. They knew moves and stuff. It's just, I like when kids talk shit. And because, you're old, you don't know what the hell. I'm like, all right. Let's see what's up. Flawless victories. I lost no matches.
I remember one time I lost a Warcraft 2 campaign against some other guy, and he asked me how old I was at the end, and he got all cocky because he was a year younger than me.
Oh, God.
This was back in, 2000 or some shit.
Yeah.
And I think this guy was, gaming all day. I'm just out here trying to have fun, man. I don't have
some people. Some people hang their ego or their. I can't get like that.
Age bigots. That's what I call it.
It's just this is what I'm saying. I love when kids like, I can beat you, and all right. I've been playing fighting games since '92. I pretty much know how to, mechanics of this stuff. I played this particular game quite a bit, so I just love when they talk shit and then they get their ass kicked. And then they couldn't say anything after that. I was like, well, after all the smack talk. I had a cousin that did that. We was playing Tekken, and I actually, sit there and try to learn the moves, learn combos and things like that, how to set up a character and all that stuff. I had quite a cousin, and I had a boyfriend of a cousin in Soul Calibur. He was oh man, I'm like, can we play first before you make that statement? And got his ass kicked. Then I kicked my cousin's ass. Well, this game, I love the excuses. This game is not like the one. It was the same game I played, you play.
Well, that's usually a sign that they're doubting themselves from the get-go.
Yeah, it's like, let your actions talk, man. You're talking a lot of smack before we can get to play. So.
Yeah, they think they can shrink you just by like talking shit.
And I don't. I just like, I'm gonna let the gameplay show, and then I talk shit after I whooped his ass. So. But as far as control, no, I don't think I've had too many issues with. What you call it? The
joystick drifting.
Yeah. I've had joysticks when I was playing Street Fighter 2 on a Super Nintendo, because I always played facing right. You know, whatever, when you're playing the first port, or when you're usually on the left side of the screen, you're facing right. So I'm always playing. So I'm always playing. You know, I always had the controller going towards the opponent. And, you know, jump back. But eventually, my joystick rather, would stop working because of always pressing that button in that direction constantly, and it just wore out me being able to go forward. But I had more issues with joysticks from like third-party companies, and I mean like the arcade sticks you play fighting games with, not so much controller, but the joysticks, fighting sticks, what have you. They're way better built than they used to be back then. But yeah, I went through so many joysticks in fighting games that that was so much money spent on that shit. God.
Have you ever seen those budget reconstructed arcade machines where they just take like the motherboard and put a screen onto like a bunch of 2x4s?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Those are funny. They're funny looking. That's all I wanted to say about that. There's a store in Chesterfield Mall. Somehow there's still stores in Chesterfield Mall. And I know people outside of St. Louis, they're like, what are you talking about? But I'll make it quick. They sell used games, and they also have an arcade in the back of the store, and you can like pay so much for a membership per month. But I never see anybody there. Like, I'll stop there at the V-Stock every now and then. Arcades, you need a bar now, I guess is what I'm saying. You need a bar now if you're going to have a successful arcade, it seems.
Well, it's just like GameStop. They need something other than games to thrive. Especially if everything going digital, or people, I think, are going digital now. We're not so much good physical copies of stuff, or games at least. That reminds me too of, right when you said that, what did you say, a bar, internet cafes. I can't think of the last time I saw those. Do those still exist?
I don't think so. That's actually a joke in that game Y2K, because it's in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
You know, like the overworld map, you know, in so many RPGs, they have like little sanctuaries you can stop at on the map and save and recover and whatnot. Yeah. In Y2K, they use internet cafes for that.
The last one I went to was around where I lived, and they were playing, I don't think it was Counter-Strike. I'm not sure what game they were playing. But it would be packed. It was a coffee, and they would serve coffee, and they had a nice setup. And that was on the internet cafe. It was always packed, but then just over time, consoles start getting better. Now you got PCs, and it's a little bit more affordable now, gaming PCs and everything. So,
well,
plus we have online now.
Tell me this, because I don't think I ever went to an internet cafe. They were computers already there, or do you bring your own, or was it a mixture of both?
This particular one, they already had theirs. They were already provided the stuff for you.
I think what happened is that internet cafes became Starbucks, and then everybody started copying Starbucks. I think because now public Wi-Fi is such a common thing, and laptops and tablets are such a common thing, that there wasn't really a necessity for it anymore.
Well, this was 2004 when this internet cafe was around where I am. So
yeah, that's still the dark ages, relatively.
So since they provided it already, I don't remember anybody bringing in their own thing. I think they already had the thing set up. You had to pay for so many hours in there, like a flat fee plus the coffee.
Right,
but
nobody's going to pay for that now.
Yeah, I don't even think Wi-Fi, if DSL, what they call it.
Oh God, I remember.
Yeah, that's what it was. I mean, that's.
Well, what was it, the first 48K, right?
56K?
The landline, 56K. And then DSL was a big thing.
Yeah, and I'm sure this store. Again, I can't remember how they. I remember there was rows of computers, but I can't remember if. And they already had the games on the screen. I think you just logged in after you paid them, but I can't remember what. I don't know if they were using internet. I'm sure it was internet, but I don't think it was Wi-Fi at the time. I think it was. They could afford the high speed.
The information super highway. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Oh God.
God, that was so long ago.
I mean, even in its time, though, that phrase was corny, I thought. Because wasn't it like the phrase that, when you heard somebody say that, it sounded like they were being fake? They were trying to make it bigger than it was, or they just didn't understand it? I
actually thought when the whole World Wide Web, when he used to say that, I thought, and especially when internet was like really starting to come out, I thought it was going to be a fad. Like it was going to last like a year or two, and we're going to go back to whatever the fuck. I did not understand what internet really actually was until my dad got it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Until my dad got it, and I remember the first thing I started looking at was Dreamcast game and Godzilla movies. And this was 99. That was like, I think he had the DSL, I want to say. But I remember when I first got...
That was like colored television.
When I first got official internet, I had Net Zero.
Oh, fuck, I remember Net Zero. What was that?
It was like if you had a 56K modem, you had to load up the disc. And you heard that, it would make that weird internet sound internet used to make.
Yeah, that series of seemingly random. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it would eventually boot up. But Net Zero was, it was like a $9 disc, pop it in your computer, and God, internet's come so far.
Was that actually a sound generated for some practical reason, or did they just were they just sitting in a room one day? This is how stupid I am. Were they just sitting in a room one day and were like, all right, let's make some cool technical sound to make it sound like, oh, we're connecting to the super internet up in the cloud. Well, it wasn't clouds back then, but you know what I'm saying. The super highway.
I just think it was just part of it trying to connect to the internet.
Yeah.
That just made that sound. I just think it just came. You trying to dial in and it just did that way. Ugh.
Well,
God.
What didn't surprise me so much, because people have been afraid of this for a long time, is how dependent we've become to social media. Not all of us, but our public reputations, the people that are like super involved, the social media stars. I know I've talked about the show before, but. And you've said some things too, but have you watched Black Mirror?
No, I got rid of Netflix after I watched The Toys That Made Us, an episode of that. And I was like, I'm done with Netflix. I don't have much else I want to see on here. I got rid of it.
Well, I would definitely recommend that show sometime down the line. It's like a criticism. I don't know how much you know about it, but it's like a criticism of technology and what could happen. And some things are plausible in the world right now. But I'll just be real quick because you were talking about the growing of, you didn't see how the internet was going to become what it is, I believe you said. There's an episode that I was watching in the future where there's like this elite community of people that are social media superstars, and their whole existence and job is to just basically obsess over having the highest rankings. It predetermines their social interactions, who they're friends with. They're constantly worried about their rankings, and they even have like elite services in society. Oh, you're only a 4.2? Sorry, you got to be 4.5 or higher. You got to get it in the normal line. It's eerie because of how fake all these people have to constantly act in their daily lives. And the story, it's a girl and a brother, they're living together, and she's all about this shit, and he doesn't give a damn. He's a gamer. And she said, if I get my ranking up, we can move into this apartment complex. And he's like, yeah, and live in a fucking smile prison? Because they're constantly having to be like all cheery and it's gross, but I see where they're coming from, and they do a lot of good episodes on stuff like that. They get really dark sometimes, they get really moody other times.
Well, that's crazy because this got to be at least 10 years ago. They interviewed these high school kids because they were addicted to texting.
Yeah.
And now that generation is on fucking Twitter now. We gave them Twitter.
Yeah.
They all felt like, oh, we're going to miss out. Well, one of the kids were like, yeah, I feel like I'm going to miss out. And I think what happens psychologically, you start to not put a face. You just see these texts, and you don't have empathy for the person you're talking with because you just see text. I think at some point it kind of subconsciously make you, because I think that's why people get on Twitter and just are not only because they're anonymous, but they can threaten you and say these things and with little to no consequence. But they can't empathize with the fact that you're another human being. And I think they take that mentality also off the online. That's why you have Antifa and all this other shit. Mm-hmm. Like you just don't see people as people. But it's weird that that generation now is fucking on Twitter now. And that's why you have this outrage culture, all this bullshit. Everybody's got to have a voice. And now they have it. It's like, ugh, you gave them Twitter.
In a lot of ways, I prefer the anonymity because it seems like the other option is surveillance. I know I'm going from one extreme to the other.
Now, if I had to choose one, I'm with you. I think that it's one of those two-sided sword things. I'd rather have that because I don't want to be. But that movie, what's that movie with Sharon Stone? Slither? I think it was called Slither, where the guy was watching her the whole time. The cameras. But I guess the bad side is that people can threaten you and you don't know who they are. It's a double-ended thing.
Definitely.
But yeah, I don't want to be surveillance though. Fuck that. I had to pick if there's an evil to it, I have to pick the lesser one. I don't want to be watched. Although, probably already are.
Well, they released
cell phones and stuff like that.
They released a couple of years ago on WikiLeaks some documents. They called them Vault 7, where they had evidence of the NSA conspiring with large tech companies to allow like an open back door for them to get in to watch people.
Yeah.
If it was a priority. Now, what's determined as priority is subjective.
Yeah, because they come up with anything and say. Hell, they were trying to come up with, trying to, I guess, profile people who, do violent acts, trying to link them to video games. And let's say they had gotten to a point, if you go buy Call of Duty and they say, oh, this person is potentially, based on the video game you buy or play, that's grounds for them to, do that, like Minority Report. Have you ever seen that movie?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Guilty before you do anything.
Do a thing, yeah. I do not want to live in that. I wish you would see a movie called Equilibrium, how that movie kind of predicted what we're living in today, as well as 1984, but...
It's definitely on my list, and I've read 1984.
Yeah, catch Equilibrium. And that movie came out early 2000s. It's just funny how much today is just like that movie. It's fucking freaky.
Well, yeah, you've seen or read Fahrenheit 451?
Yo, I haven't seen it. Did they make a movie out of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw it. I want to say I've seen that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know. I remember hearing a lot about it.
The book was from the 50s. Movie was made in the 60s. But, I mean, the idea, it tackled a lot of things. Outrage culture. That was, let's just burn all the books because people get angry when they don't agree with what's been written. And then you have the iPod, they basically predicted, the earbuds, interactive monitor screen. There's all kinds of stuff in there. Obviously, they don't always hit the nail directly on the head with this stuff, but they get in the ballpark a lot of times.
Yeah, I've seen some like Alfred Hitchcock or Twilight Zone episodes that kind of like one of the crazy. I wish I remember the title of it. Twilight Zone episode where they kind of planted the seed of a person doing something, and you had this mob of people they like got at each other, and it turned out to be like the aliens planted this thing to see how humans. It just kind of remind me of today, how you put out a boogeyman and everybody we're at each other's throat, and it's kind of how that. And this was in the fucking 50s.
Well, I remember an episode from the Twilight Zone where there were these neighbors all on this one street, and certain lights started going out randomly, I think, at different times.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all it took, and eventually they were at each other's throats, and then at the very end it pulls back and you see the aliens were doing it all the time. They say, see how easy it is
that's the
to
same
fuck with them?"
episode.
Yeah,
the same episode I'm thinking about then. Okay.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
See how easy it is to fuck with them?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what's going on today. Just in a different way, but it's using it, maybe the internet, social media, and it's like, look how we get these idiots to get at each other.
Well, there's always a boogeyman. There's always people trying, being tribal, because we're tribal. We're a tribal creature. But the people that don't let the better part of ourselves realize that's silly just fall into it.
Mm-hmm.
So what else, as far as bashing game and console makers?
Well, my complaint or bitching comes from the idea that I'm seeing more and more companies shit on the customer base. The people that kept the franchise going, like Star Wars. We had Ryan Johnson tell people, because they criticized the movie, that they're racist and sexist. And you also find that
these people are often guilty of the things that they're accusing others of doing.
Well, I was trying to get. Every time that fan comes on, I feel like I have to overtalk it because.
Sorry, that was the AC. That was just
partial. Well, that, and then they also, like, they don't recognize that. Well, women didn't like this movie either, or blacks didn't like this movie either. Like, how did you put people in a certain category? And first of all, how do you judge a person based on whether they like a movie or not? If people are telling them, well, there's plot holes, there's certain things in your movie that, oh, you're sexist and racist because you didn't. Like, they don't want to take responsibility for the fact they made a shitty product. Gillette just lost $8 billion because of that shitty commercial. Their social justice bullshit. They made 3 commercials that was like, now they're like, then you had the guy come out and say, well, if it was worth it losing $8 billion. I'm paraphrasing, but He basically came out and said,
Oh, the whole fuck those people, we don't want them anyway kind of
yeah.
talk.
And then the $8 billion loss came out. And now they're saying, well, we're going to focus on local heroes. Yeah, you lost $8 billion. You can't. These game developers are doing it too, where Mortal Kombat went through that shit, where they were like, you're not a fan because you criticized the game. And people were pointing out certain things that were like, even when I put out a podcast or anything, if I say something, I should expect that it's going to, if I put something out there, it's going to get criticized or not. I don't know. It's out there. I can't sit here and act like I'm not going to get criticized for something I'm saying.
We're going to get criticized. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. So when you put a product out there and people are going to have an opinion on it, to then feel like you're entitled to those people's money, you're insulting the audience or your fans, and then go ahead and expect them to pay for you. I don't get that. I don't get the concept. I don't get the brain who come up with that idea. Let's shit on our fan base and audience. Mm-hmm. This whole thing with the whole too many white males in something. It's like, what does that have to do with anything? It's a movie.
Well, what frustrates me is that these people, they have their pet issues and they don't really. I know that they are not beholden to my opinion of what they should do, but I get so frustrated that so many people just limit their scope to a few social issues. And I'm not even saying that their complaints don't have some validity to them, but their scope is so narrow. I'm just thinking, like, what about all the wars in third world countries you probably don't even know much about? What about Flint, Michigan that still doesn't have clean drinking water? What about the D- or D+ infrastructure that the country has that you're living in every day? But no, you're going to worry about overrepresentation of white males. That's the problem you're going to spend your time going after.
Or somebody's dress is too short. It's like, that's not going to save the world.
Is that going to clean the environment? Is that going to rebuild the ozone layer?
It's so weird to me, but I've seen game companies go after potential people that might buy their game and people who are fans of their stuff. How they just go and I don't get that mentality. You're trying to cater to people who, one, don't buy your games. You're trying to appeal to probably 8% of the population, and you got this fan base who kept your franchise alive for so many years, and you're telling them that it's too many of them. I don't get the mentality that.
Well, I think thinking of what we're saying and what I just said a minute ago about that's the only thing they focus on. I mean, clear it's deliberate, and case in point, I know she's a dead meme by this point, but Anita Sarkeesian, who was exposed of not even being a gamer at all. She just got in as an opportunity. They're careerists. These people, they don't really have an interest. Not all of them have an interest in this stuff. And they see an opening, though, for them to make outrage. They're outrage merchants.
Which brings me back to the texting being addicted. It's this. I remember when Facebook came out, well, seeing people get like 300 and something friends and likes and stuff. It's like, they say that's actually a scientific, is it dopamine or endorphins? Dopamine, I think.
Dopamine, yeah.
You get a hit of that when you get a like or something, or your phone rings. So I think these people have gotten also addicted to, that's why I don't even think I think they're full of shit. I don't think they actually mean the stuff they seem like they being activists about. I think it's to get as many likes as possible, or to look like get internet pats on the back. I think all that's all kind of tied in together.
Well, whatever. I guess it's different because people. Well, no. I was going to say you can make the same argument about cash money. What value does? Maybe I'm creating more of an argument than what you were saying, but I think you would agree that there's a currency to social media popularity for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Well, who's to say that it's not relevant maybe I'm making a straw man argument. I don't know if you're saying it's irrelevant or not, but I know people
What I'm saying, I think this outrage culture stems from. I think part of it is they seem to get easily offended by things, but I think they think it's going to get them likes or
yeah.
I think that the whole addicted to texting and don't want to miss out on stuff. I think when you get the electronic pat on the back, it does something to you where you think, oh, I need more of this, and you start seeing people getting you like some of the most ridiculous things. You're like, there's no way you're actually offended by that.
You remember who Marshall McLuhan was?
Name sound familiar. I have to see the face.
He was a big theorist. He was from Canada. He was a big theorist on how media works and how it evolves over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget exactly what it's called, but I think he had something like a 5-step phase for any type of new technology. And one of the later ones is basically like a resistance. People that get overwhelmed and fed up with the technology, and so they seek like an older alternative. That's where you got, the embracing of the dumb phone, people reverting back to basic flip phones.
Yeah.
Or people just totally not like you're not on Facebook, and I don't blame you. People avoiding these social platforms. So yeah, there's always a resistance. And when you said, I don't want to miss out on anything, well, you know what? I do. I don't want everything.
No, I'm not saying
I know you don't. No, I'm not saying you do either. I'm just saying.
No, that was the explanation that these kids were given back when I saw this report or this news report about why these kids were addicted to texting. It's like their attitude is, I don't want to miss out on anything. So you give that group of people Twitter. So they go through Twitter looking for something to be offended by. And I got to comment on this so I can get the likes and all the blow up and whatever the fuck. And then it grows into some bullshit. Mm-hmm. And we got what we got today.
Mm-hmm. You know what my favorite argument is on any social media platform?
What's that?
You're an idiot. I mean, it's so common. And I know that just pretty much kills it, but I go to these comment sections sometimes just to, hate thirst. Just to see how stupid some of these people are. And they're all dumb. It doesn't matter which side. They're 98% of them. My favorite ones are the local news station pages. Those are always good because you get hot takes from... And then I could trail off into the whole, the dudes... Well, I guess you get that with everything. Anyway, I was just going off about people, angrily responding with no substance. It's so common. And then you have a few people on top of the trash heaps that actually get somewhere and have a message that resonates. As much as I don't agree with him on a lot of things, I thought it was always funny, even though he used it sometimes, I thought, as to, get away from debating. Stefan Molyneux.
Yeah.
His famous reply always was not an argument. To which sometimes I always thought, I thought maybe you could refute the point anyway. But I guess what I'm saying is, sometimes if somebody makes such a stupid argument, I'm willing to go to that whole, look, I'm not even going to explain to you why this doesn't make any sense. You need to talk to some people or read something. I fucking love the normie comments, dude. And I feel it's a waste of time myself, and I know this at the same time, but I just get a kick out of it. It's like my little, I don't know, gossip thing or whatever. Oh, just the comment sections on most Twitter posts, big Twitter posts, Facebook posts, especially Facebook, because all of the boomer generations moved in there now. That's why a lot of people left.
It's not. See, that's the whole cool thing. It's it's not cool to be on Facebook because yeah.
Yeah, now the normies are in. Now our parents are on there. I've seen some, I know this is been said a million times. I've seen some really, some things posted on social media that had huge consequences in reality. About 99% of it won't. But I've seen divorces. I've seen arrests because of things that people posted.
Oh, I remember one, this chick got on Facebook. Now, this is when I had it. She robbed a bank or a store, flashed the money on Facebook and said, "I dare any of you to come try and catch me." She was taunting law enforcement and she got arrested.
How fucking stupid.
You can't
They'll track your phone in a second.
Again, there's these people, man, that...
You said she put a picture of herself on there?
Yes,
what
her face and everything with the money. That's
surface level dumb. Like, I can understand barely somebody not understanding, oh, they'll track the phone. You're going to post your... Oh, my God.
No, she posted it. I'll never forget this. She posted it, her face, and she had the money. She said what she did, she admitted the crime, and then dared to be caught with it. Like, I dare y'all to come find me.
I think maybe she was asking to be arrested.
No, I think she's just dumb. I think there's people who are so starved for attention that they will go there. I think social media, to some degree, it's just like when people are making those silly video, the challenge videos and those other videos where they were, when Paris Hilton, everybody, all these people kind of got famous from doing these videos. Like, people are like, well, I can be famous too. I can get my shit to go viral. And it's just, they need some kind of attention. And then they go to some extremes to get that attention. And they're willing to go there, even if there's a consequence to it. They just starve for attention.
My two favorites are probably, one, the guy who ate a bunch of cacti in a video. Just sat there at a table eating these little cactuses.
Uh-huh.
And the other one, and that was sheer joy for me because he chose to do that. And I watched him painfully, slowly eat that cactus and revile in pain as the needles went down his stomach. And he said, "Don't worry, the doctor said they're digestible." The other one, this is my number one, is the guy who decided to cement his head inside of a microwave.
He did what?
He cemented his head. He stuck his head into a microwave, and he had two of his buddies fill it with wet cement.
No. I thought you were...
Don't worry, because he kept a plastic tube in his mouth so he could breathe. But then the cement hardened and cut off the airflow to the tube. He lived. Long story short, he lived. But they had to get the fire department to come out and basically drill his head out. And then, so rightfully, the fire department, chastised him and got on social media and saying, "What the fuck is wrong with you? There could be people, with real trouble they didn't create. We're wasting our time helping your stupid ass." But that's my number one. Guy cements his head inside of a microwave.
I thought seeing the idiot light himself on fire. It was a fire. Cause you remember they would, I think it was the ALS challenge where they're just putting cold water on themselves, or the cold ice water or something.
Oh, the challenges are the best. I mean,
well, that was supposed to be a good
stupidity Olympics.
But they were trying to do awareness for this thing. Then people took that and bastardized it. Then they took it so far. Like, this one idiot lit himself. They had nothing to do with a cause. He just lit himself on fire. It's like, fuck water. I'm gonna do fire.
Yeah.
The worst, I guess. I mean, the cinnamon the cinnamon challenge.
Cinnamon challenge. There's the Tide Pod challenge. I mean, and this isn't new necessarily because they were eating goldfish all the way back in the 30s.
30s, yeah, right.
As a social dare, but I think it's definitely become perpetuated because of the internet.
Yeah, again, it's this I need attention. It's become some dopamine hits, and it's an addiction. They want to be liked. They think it's. I'm just glad I grew up at the time that I did, where I didn't have a lot of distraction. The most distraction we had was Atari, a color TV, and maybe that's about it. I mean, we didn't have much.
Nope.
We had to go socialize with people off in the real world. I'm just so glad I experienced that and not live in the age, like growing up in this time frame, because that's all they know. I get it. You can't help what time, you were born in, but Jesus.
Right. The argument is, well, you wouldn't have known any different if you were born then.
Born in, yeah.
Just as much as our parents say the same thing about us.
Yep.
Gotta rise above that shit. Well, I guess sometimes there is no case of rising above. Like, do you think that music is objectively getting worse? I think it is to a certain degree.
I'm so picky with music now.
I mean, I think
like
the majority of like mainstream stuff has always sucked, personally. But
like the 2 songs I sent you this week, like I heard that somebody on Twitch was playing that. I was like, who is that group? And I go find them. It's like, this is like, to me, good music. So it's there. It's just underground and hidden. And it's like people I probably never heard of. There are actually good groups and bands.
Yeah, and if you like that group again, if you haven't, I would check out Opeth.
Okay. So a lot of the good music still exists. It's just whatever's out there now that's what's popping, I guess. I don't care for it. What's worse? I mean, and then that's another thing is like the music, me growing up on old school old school now, but KRS-One and Public Enemy and NWA, and hearing my parents say, "What the fuck are y'all? Y'all music sucks,"
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always defending that music because I guess I grew up with it. I can still appreciate today's music if it was good. It's not good.
Well,
a lot of it just sucks.
Well, I think the closest thing to a truth about this is that I think most people, they have a certain time frame of so much time in their life where they're willing to take in new things, and then that window starts to narrow as they get older.
Well,
there are obviously outliers and exceptions.
Yeah, like I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to trying to listen to new things. If it's just bad though, I don't think a lot of people. I like synthwave, and that's fairly new, or last 5 or 6 years, I guess. Yeah. Synthwave music and some trap music, I guess. Some of it, if it sounds good. So I'm willing to listen to it. It's just got to be good. But if you're talking about in general, I know it's hard. It's hard for me to actually give a opinion because I avoid it, I guess, and I try to find music that's good to me.
Yeah, and I try not to get caught up on just thinking whatever I'm hearing on the radio is what's happening now. I mean, that's not the whole picture.
Yeah, so I think the stuff I've been able to find in the last few years, it's like, it's fantastic music out there. I just don't listen to what mainstream listen to.
No.
So I'm always looking for the underground stuff I never heard before, groups I never heard before. So I love EDM music. So I think that's what the kids listen to too.
I was going to say, you're on the popular side then.
So, but even that still has to be, it's got to be good shit. Something I can. But yeah, I'm always willing to listen to new shit, regardless of what age I am. It's just got to be good. I'm pretty much like that with a lot of things.
You heard it here first, folks. Music's got to be good. Hot take right there.
I mean,
that's one thing we know for sure.
Don't mean to be Captain Obvious, but still.
I know why you're saying it though, because there's a difference between just assuming that you're not liking things just because you're getting older and it's changing, and actually listening to it and dissecting and coming to the conclusion, no, this is just not good.
Yeah. Mumble rap, I can't they can suck a dick. I can't stand it.
No.
That can suck 3 dicks. I can't stand mumble rap.
Well, they can't because their mouth's too closed to
mumble.
Do it.
I don't. It also. That's why I like old school. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, there's one thought that I've been having lately, because at the gym I go to, they play all the top 40 pop bubblegum bullshit. And they play rap. They said they play a little bit of rock, what passes for rock now, and a lot of pop music. A lot of singers are going for this very similar type of accent when they sing or they rap. It's like it's not any one background.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of mumbly. It's kind of street. It's kind of not. I'm convinced they're going for like this universal middle ground way of singing or rapping that they're trying to appeal to every demographic or group of people as possible. I think that's what they're trying to do.
You got a song example? I could, so I get an idea of what you mean.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Because like I said, I have not listened to radio in years. Well, I have no idea what's playing on radio.
I remember Del, the rapper, the Funky Homo Sapien. He pointed this out a long time ago. He was listening to Mariah Carey and the way that she started singing.
Yeah.
And it was very much with like a cadence of a rapper. And a lot of R&B singers started to do that, I guess, in the later 90s, early 2000s. And so he said, she's singing, but she's also rapping now. And if you listen to a lot of pop singers, they'll do like the same cadence that you hear rappers. A lot of rappers that'll go like do 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 do. The singers are doing that too now. And they do like 1 or 2 different notes. They like keep this monotone, so it's kind of singing, but it's also with the same flow of rapping. And I can't think of a single example. Just, it's not everybody that's doing it either, but there's like this. It's like semi-urban, but it's also not urban, because there's nothing like, street, urban, black inner city culture, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing about that about these people or their message, but they sing that way. They inject some of it into the way that they sing. I guess Ariana Grande is one example. They play her video on repeat.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't stand her shit.
Right, but since you say, I think I understand now what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Mariah Carey was an earlier one to try and, but I think I don't know if she's a good example, because that was a different time, and
Yes, and I grew up around,
I'm
her music, so.
I'm convinced she identifies as black. I mean, like, in a lot of, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, if I have to get into the biracial thing.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was just going to say, a lot of times.
That's going to get me blacklisted.
I don't know.
That's going to be my one quote that gets me taken down.
Well,
I don't know. I know it's a touchy subject to get into for a lot of people.
It's not. I don't give a shit.
Oh, okay.
Well,
you were like, if you want to go down that road, I didn't know where you were going.
Oh no, what I was going to say was, I think a lot of biracial people accept that particular side only because it's acceptable.
Now, hold on.
Right.
She's biracial. For a long time, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so they'll never get accepted as white. Like, even if they're half, it's like white people are not going to just accept them as white.
Well, I don't think a lot of people even realize
black
that, because
people are more willing to accept them as black because they don't quite look black, if that makes sense. Because black people are ashamed, and you can go through history and why that is a whole thing, but at the same time, I've seen growing up, you have a little kid with nice curly hair. They used to call it good hair. I hate that fucking term because you're trying to tell the other kid that her hair is not good or his hair is not good. You would see them playing that child's hair more than the other kid's hair. It's like, that's why these black chicks wear these damn weaves. I can't stand that shit. So if they could, that's why that chick from the AACP, she was like the chairperson and she passed for black, but she was straight up white. And
I remember you talking about.
So willing to accept that because she didn't really look white. She looked white, but it's like, oh, she's got some black in her. So anything that looks not totally black, we accept it with, for some reason, open arms.
You're talking about
if you look
that Dolezal girl, right? I think that was her name.
I think so, yeah. But if you take somebody like Yaphet Kotto, the actor Yaphet, the guy that was in the black dude from Alien, the first Alien movie.
Yeah.
And the show Homicide. Well, he would be made fun of by our own people being too dark or some bullshit like that. But Mariah Carey, oh, she's got some black hair. Goes, blah, 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 blah. She doesn't look as black as everybody. We got a whole thing about that. The whole paper bag test. Yeah. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So.
Well, I know about the light skin shaming.
Or it must be reversed because they black dark skin really want to be light so badly that they would. Yeah, I guess that would be part of shaming it. But even if you're like Neo is very dark, he said when he was going to school, he got made fun of by his own black people when he came to this country. So it's again, you can go back to the whole blackface thing and back in the 30s when all that bullshit, Opie and Andy, what was it? Andy and Amos and Andy, and the caricatures of black folks back in the day. I'm sure they had some psychological fuck up with us, but and the whole slave thing where the lighter skinned people got more privileges than, if you're dark, you're out in the field. So there's that whole thing too. But even today, with all the technology, with all the history, with all the things we know, for somebody to still perpetuate that bullshit, to me, there's no excuse for it now.
Well, we haven't really changed at the same rate of our technology. Right. And the disparity's getting even worse as we go on.
Right. So I guess I'd say all to say, yeah, she would pass for black because she's going to be more accepted as that. If she were to be more accepting by whites, she probably would go that route.
Right.
It depends where the wind blows. People say where they feel they're more comfortable at. I don't think Prince was more, because even the people he was surrounding himself with were more kind of giving biracial people a voice, if you will. He didn't really pick one side or from what I remember. But black people always consider him that. But I don't think he never really try to make himself that be a thing with him.
Well, Prince was beyond race.
That's what I'm saying.
Prince was beyond humanity.
Yeah. That's why he's my favorite artist.
If I had to be a supremacist, if I had to be an ethno-supremacist for anyone, it would be Prince.
If you're a Prince supremacist.
Yeah, I'd be a supremacist, or however you come up with something. We'd come up with
right.
something.
Yeah, Prince. I think he's still alive.
Purple Raiders.
I think he's just he took another form because he's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Do you think he's in public view now and we don't know it, or is yet to reveal his new incarnation?
I think he's like the T-1000. He just can take form of anything.
So you think he's just like changing constantly now?
Yeah.
Whatever's the best thing out there. Oh, that's actually Prince.
Prince, yeah. Yep. So he's my favorite artist ever.
I mean, if you're going to choose one, it's not a bad choice.
Him and Bjork.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Now you want to talk about not human also.
Right.
Prince was eccentric. Bjork is fucking weird.
Now, what's the difference? Is eccentric the better half of weird?
Well, I was just using those words just to make a difference, but
is it kind of like
weird can be a lot of things. So can eccentric.
Kind of like a Mexican is a Latin person is a taller Mexican. That's something I think Paul Mooney said once. Because there's even a thing with them. It's like Latin people don't want to claim Mexicans or some shit.
Yeah, every race, dude, every general color, every general shade has plenty of their own infighting.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Like, yeah, Latin people are just taller Mexicans. What the hell?
Well, I think that's a good place for me to end it, man.
Yep. I need to get a drink. Some alcohol. But not drive.
No, never.
Never do that.
What about driving and drinking? No, that doesn't work either.
No, unless it's Gatorade or water.
Right. Well, when I say drinking. What about? Let's see. What if you're driving? Does it depend on what you're driving? You know? What if you were just driving? I know I'm taking this to the nth degree, but
yes.
In the future, as you know, when all cars become computer controlled, and anyone that wants to manually drive a car is going to have to pay $5 an hour to drive around a closed course. Theoretically, if you want to go with the libertarian philosophy, I can do what I want as long as I don't hurt anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
If they're the only one on the course and there's nobody else anywhere near them, do you think they should be allowed to drink and drive?
I don't know. It's like, as long as they don't hurt anyone. I was going to say something.
There's nobody else near them anywhere in any way. If they were to crash, could they even touch another person?
But then eventually they'll have to go home, which would mean they would have to get off their course eventually.
But their cars are AI controlled.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I'm saying, like, in the future, the inevitable AI-dominated car driving future.
I would hope that they wouldn't drunkenly program the car to do something. Because it does it control itself like an Autobot, or is it you have to punch in a comment? I don't know.
Well,
have the car.
I mean, there's a lot of ifs, because obviously this is something that doesn't exist on a massive scale right now. But I would assume that they would try and nerf the AI enough to where you can only decide where to go, and as far as controlling traffic, they would be able to, keep from, minimizing as many accidents as possible. What I'm saying is, if there were accidents, it would be on the fault of the AI, not the drunken decisions of the person punching in commands.
But then I would assume an AI would get so advanced that it would detect that you're drunk and won't even start.
Yeah, or just have mandatory breathalyzers built into the cars.
Therefore, so to answer your question, I guess as long as nobody is around and the AI, but that's a lot of stuff that would have to be considered. Car would have to be responsible for you because there's an AI, and or does a drunk person, before they drink, do they make the car the designated driver itself, and they can drink as much as they want? That's a whole lot of things to consider there. If he's just walking and or riding a bike, well, hell, if he's riding a bike, he can run into somebody, or he can get killed because he didn't have his little flashlight on his reflectors. See? Stay at home and drink. Fuck, just stay home. It's too many.
Yeah.
Just stay home and drink.
Yeah, that's...
If you're gonna have a person, just stay home. It's the best place to be.
Best place.
Best place to be is just at home. Unless you one of those people that drinks and beat up your family because you drank too much. And not a happy drinker. You're a depressed drinker.
Maybe don't drink.
Maybe don't drink.
Or work out your psychological problems.
Yeah. It is still a drug. So,
Yep.
So just stay home.
Stay home. Don't go out. Don't do anything.
Yeah, if you're gonna drink, just stay at the crib. It's
dangerous business going outside of your doors.
Dad joke of the fucking.
I was waiting for it.
Yes. Okay. So I'm trying to find the cringiest one. I heard one today about, and I can't remember, so I don't want to repeat it. I had to go. I'm going to find out. Write it down. So, stop me if you ever heard this one. Why did the Scarecrow win an award?
Give me cancer and kill me now.
Right.
Why?
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Okay.
What do you call a fake noodle? I think everybody heard that in Imposter.
Oh yeah.
I just watched a program about beavers. It was the best damn program I've ever seen.
Dear God.
That's I think I heard that one before about the skeletons, why they don't trick or treat because they got no body or some shit like that. The too tired with the bicycle. Why did the bicycle?
Tired.
I wouldn't buy anything with Velcro. It's a total ripoff. And last but not least, what do you call a man with a rubber toe? Roberto.
I think I've heard that one too.
Yeah, I think I have too. I think knock knock jokes are always the one I like the most is knock knock.
Who's there?
Little boy blue.
Little boy blue who?
Michael Jackson. That's an old Def Comedy Jam one from Joe Torre's brother. What's his name? Guy Torre.
Yeah.
Who's from St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken.
I guess.
Knock knock. Who's there? Amanda. Amanda who? Amanda, fix your sink. And we're going to end on that one. Even I.
Classy. Classy as fuck.
Even I wanted to vomit. And I'm very, because my co-host or host, I don't know what position I'm at with that, but I was challenged to find the worst.
On here? Co-host. Yeah.
The worst person, find the worst, cringiest jokes possible. And I made him. I've accepted that challenge, and I hope I'm living up to that.
Yes, and I'm responding to them appropriately. I'm being more than fair.
Cool. So I never asked.
Don't make me send the phone spiders over.
Ew.
You don't want that.
Spiders. I don't. All the webbing.
All the worldwide webbing.
Yeah. That's a dad joke there, too.
Yeah, there's definitely a dad joke in there.
Alrighty then.
Alright, so this is Zuver signing out and saying, I had something good earlier, but we will seize the means of production, comrade, and there will be a bloody revolution coming.
Yep. Peace. Peace out. Love, peace, and hair grease. That's all I got.
The proletarians have nothing to lose but their chains.
Right.
All right. Later, everybody.
Peace.
Yep. All right, man.
All right.